Everybody, welcome to episode number 5 of Pandemic Business, chrismartin.tv. That's me. Welcome to the new Batcave. Had to relocate studios due to social distancing and all that other fun stuff. So hopefully it's quasi-decent to look at. I've got a little bit of more work to do. But anyway, today we've got Frank Myers with United Way of Southwest Oklahoma with us. And this is a little different than the previous episodes because United Way is a nonprofit. It's not actually a business, but it is directly affected by the businesses in our community and their ability to work with other businesses, work with individuals, work with their agencies that they partner with, and how they all help the community is all completely integral. And I apologize if you happen to hear sirens driving by. That is the one downside to moving to a non-soundproof studio is you hear things as they're going down the street. But I'm going to bring Frank in here and we're going to get him going here. So Frank, welcome to the party. How are you today?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So for those that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about you and United Way.
Yeah, my name is Frank Myers. I work as the Community Engagement Manager at United Way of Southwest Oklahoma. Not sure, if you guys are familiar with United Way, but essentially what we do as a nonprofit agency is we partner with other nonprofits. We do fundraising for them. We kind of serve as like to picture us as sort of the backbone of the nonprofit community, making sure that everybody is connected and working together, kind of as the glue of the community to try and make sure that we're moving the needle as a collective. And so a big part of what we do is go around and fundraise with different businesses, different individuals, raise money, and then we have a pretty thorough grant application process that we go through with other nonprofits that can apply to partner with us. And if they do, then they go through a pretty thorough vetting every year as they apply for funding. And then once that's approved, we send that money out throughout the year. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Excellent. So as it is right now, how many agencies or other nonprofits have you partnered with here in Southwest Oklahoma?
So currently we have 17 funded partners. And so that means that they went through the process over the last year. They've been receiving funding through our fiscal year, which is July through June. And so they're actually in the middle of the grant process again right now. So we have volunteers that are reviewing their grant applications and scheduling virtual site visits as we speak.
Excellent, excellent. So with this downturn, with everything that has kind of gone south or put on standby at least, how is that affecting your ability to operate just from a day-to-day operational standpoint?
Well, for one, we have transitioned to working from home. So I'm in the bedroom right now and talking on a phone and having to remote into our computers and work this way. We do have somebody going in and checking the office once a day, making sure that we still have business going on. And a lot of what we can do is virtual. But a big part, as we talked about, is fundraising. A lot of that is relationship building and face-to-face conversations. And obviously we can't do that. 75% of the money that we raise is done through payroll deduction at businesses. And so the effect that's having in terms of, the raising money piece is if people aren't getting paid because they're not able to work, then those dollars are not able to be sent into to us and then dispersed out to our nonprofits. So it's limiting our ability right now. We haven't felt a huge impact from that. We do have great concerns. We do our heaviest part of our fundraising kind of in the fall, September, October, November timeframe. And we know that this is going to have some long-term ramifications. That's something that we're very much anticipating.
So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that your biggest donor is Goodyear, and they have just basically shut down all of their North American facilities, if not all the facilities worldwide because of this. So, long term, and it may be too early to figure this out yet, but long term, how are you planning on adjusting because of or due to that loss of additional donation coming in?
Well, that's something we're talking about. We obviously don't know how long they're going to be shut down. We don't know when they're going to be able to come back. You know, those that are still receiving paychecks, those dollars are still being sent our way at this point. But you're right. I mean, anybody who has been almost essentially furloughed or, you know, laid off, those are dollars that are gone at this point. We're going to have to try and have as good a communication as possible with Goodyear once they open their doors back up, and see if there's a way that we can kind of get back up to speed. But you're right. I mean, that's one of those consequences that we're facing that could potentially have a huge impact on the amount of dollars that we're able to raise over the next year.
So during this, you know, you've got reserves built up, and I'm not going to say you necessarily prepared for a situation like this, because who in their right mind has prepared for this? I don't know of anybody that has, and or, you know, from the government down. So,
yeah.
But you've got the ability to still make an impact and still be able to help out these agencies that are in dire need of help as a result, whether they be homeless shelters or food banks or things like that. So how is United Way of Southwest Oklahoma able to help in this time where you don't have a lot coming in, but there are agencies that definitely need it because they have also been hurt by a lack of donor dollars coming in?
Yeah, all the agencies have been reaching out and talking about the fact that, you know, a lot of donations have slowed down, and that makes perfect sense. People are, you know, they don't have the income coming in themselves. Those, they don't have buyers or services they're providing, those things, and that trickles down to the nonprofit world. Our business, or sorry, our board of directors and our finance committee have made some really smart decisions over the last few years, and they've set aside some reserves and had some emergency reserves set aside. So one of the things that they met and discussed was, hey, we need to figure out what we can do. You know, our job is to help fund and financially support the nonprofits of our area, especially our funded partners. So how can we do that? What's the best way we can do that? And so we reached out to those partners and kind of talked to them about the services they're providing, how they've been impacted by the pandemic, and kind of gathered that information, gathered those responses. You know, what could they use funding for immediately, in the intermediate, long term? And after collecting that information, you know, we identified several of our partners who are providing emergency services right now. They're the front line. They're providing food. They're providing shelter. They're providing medicine. And so the agencies that are working in that capacity, we decided to go ahead and send them some money right away. But our board approved us pulling out $100,000 from our emergency reserve and setting that aside, pre-approved, to be able to fund those partners for an extended period of time. So what we're doing, in addition to what we regularly send them, their normal allocations, we pulled that $100,000 out, and we're dividing it up. So we sent that to those providing emergency services right now, some of that, a portion of it. And then we're going to do a reevaluation in 60 days, kind of figure out those intermediate needs. Where are we at this point? Because this is also touch and go for everyone, and everybody understands it's no different for us. So we want to be able to adapt and react as quickly and as effectively and efficiently as possible. So in 60 days, we'll reevaluate. We'll be reaching out to partners, talking to them about where they are, their status, who's open, who's closed, who's working remotely. And then potentially do another disbursement at that point from that $100,000 that was approved. And then moving out beyond that, we'll be discussing sort of the long-term implications as well.
That's fantastic that you've got that ability, though. It's, you know, a lot of people are finding themselves in a paycheck to paycheck world and finding ways to continue to keep the lights on, things like that. And the fact that United Way has been prepped for these things is incredibly important. And I think that comes with the territory for you, since you are donor based. That is one of the most volatile or unreliable baselines, if you will, for income. So it's incredibly intelligent and smart and wise for you guys to have that. And we're obviously seeing why that works, because we get so many of these agencies that, like I said, we are going to have dried up donations for the time being that desperately need it. And that's ultimately the mission of United Way, ultimately, is to help nonprofits that I've seen. So I applaud you guys for that. I think that's fantastic. Now, in the process of this, I'm assuming your workforce has been able to stay the same. You've been able to keep everybody employed and not have to worry about, you know, downsizing anybody.
Yes, so far we have been able to keep everybody on board. We have a really small staff as it is. We rely very, very heavily on volunteers. Obviously, that's something we're having to adjust to as well. Luckily, we do our community investment committee I mentioned earlier is the ones who do their community members who have volunteered, and they do the grant reviews for all of those funded partner agencies that have applied for funding for the upcoming year. And just about every one of them has been willing to stick with us, and that's awesome. I mean, that's been great because this is a huge part of what we do is making sure that we are being good stewards of those donors' dollars. And a lot of these volunteers that are doing these reviews are those donors. They want to make sure that the dollars are being allocated the most appropriate way, the most effective and efficient way. And so they've stuck with us, and that's been a huge blessing.
Well, for sure. And if anybody wants to help out right now or get involved, whether it be from a donation perspective or from a service perspective, how best are you recommending people jump in, and especially in a world of social distancing? Are there ways for people to help out in a situation where they can't be necessarily face to face with somebody?
Yeah, it's a little different, and it's something we're adjusting to. We still have our volunteer page, sign up form listed on our website. We're still receiving those, and that's one of those things where we can go through those and try and individually assign where we can, in constant communication with our partner agencies and following up with. So who can take volunteers? And I don't know if you saw Senator Langford had just done a program or announced it yesterday or the day before, trying to make sure that we have a volunteer base to help those that are in greatest need, and reaching out and making sure that everybody's taken care of, kind of the community joining together. And so that's something we're very aware of, and that's something we want to, sort of replicate and keep going here in Southwest Oklahoma as well.
Gotcha. Your feed dropped out there for just a second. For a second. Oh, there we go. Everything's getting fun. Can you, if we lose Frank,
okay.
I can hear him still. So I think we're back. So for those that, while he's getting that situated, for those that are curious on how to get involved with United Way, here's the website, uwswok.org. It's United Way of Southwest Oklahoma.org. And you can go to their website, and there's a volunteer button on the main page where you can click in and fill out your information to be able to jump in. They will get the form, and they'll be in contact with you if there are any agencies that they can directly hook you up with, especially in this world of social distancing, because every agency is going to have its different policies and how things are done. But the great thing about the way United Way works is they funnel everybody down to where the greatest need is and where the best fit is for volunteers. So I'm going to jump back over here. Frank's back now. And okay, we got you back online. So is there anything else that I haven't covered? Because, I feel like we ran through it real quick, and because this isn't directly business related, I want to making sure that I'm not missing anything that you want to get the word out on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention we started a bear hunt last week, and so that's kind of continuing on. And I think we're going to look at extending it. We had turned it into an event, and I don't know if you know what this is, but the bear hunt essentially is, and some other communities have done it too, to be able to get families out during the day, because we're supposed to be social distancing, keeping away, but everybody can get a little stir crazy while they're inside their house, and so this is just a way to get out of the house but keep maintaining those social distancing guidelines. So you get in the car, you take your kids, you drive around. If you look at our Facebook, we've got a ton of businesses and community members that have put stuffed bears, teddy bears, in their front window. And you can drive around with kids, and you can try and spot as many bears as you can. And so we're calling it the bear hunt. As I said, it's just something fun, entertaining, keep people from going stir crazy. And we've had a lot of feedback from that. We've got a lot of positive people. We've got a lot of businesses, as I said, that are participating, listing that there, just hoping you can drive by and get out and have some fun.
And I did see that, and I think that is a fantastic way of being able to get out. And as long as we do it between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m., because we are now instituting curfew as of today.
That's something we're going to have to adjust to.
Now, hopefully the bear hunt isn't put on hold with an increased curfew down the road, but I understand if that needs to be happening, why it is happening. So Miss Adrienne Davis with Hungry Hearts Feeding Ministry, who is an agency for United Way, but she's commented in here saying if those of us that are not able to serve at this time, post the donations that would have been provided for our organization be directed to United Way. And I think it's incredibly generous of her because, I know they've had to shut down operations on the demo and rebuild of their building. But as it is right now, I think that's incredibly generous of her to be able to direct what would have gone to them, to you guys, or to your partner agencies in this time of need, because I think a lot of
that's awesome.
Donations could spoil, if they're food related, things along those lines. So thank you, Adrienne. I think that's incredibly generous of you guys. And go for it, Frank.
That's hugely important. And it's kind of cutting out, so I'm just going to jump in and hope that you can hear me. But no, that's awesome news. And the feeding sites have been such a big deal. We're still getting so many calls of people looking for food, looking for some place to get their next meal. And so the schools work in the way that they have, but the Lawton Food Bank and the Salvation Army are two places that normally provide meals that are still up and running, but they are struggling to get those donations. I mean, that was one of the things that the Lawton Food Bank has some partnerships where a lot of times they can get a lot of, through food drives and through cooperatives that they have through some of the local stores. They're able to get a lot of food and right now they're having to purchase a lot more than they usually have to purchase. So, I mean, any donations are hugely welcome to both of those facilities. And the Center for Creative Living, they have upped their game in the sense that they're doing feeding for seniors, and it's seniors only, but that's the population they serve. And they're doing that Monday through Friday right now. And so they've got their staff, it's curbside pickup, but they're hurting for donations too, because, it's a site that usually does one warm meal a week and one cold meal a week. And so it's 2 a week, and now they're doing 5 days a week. So they're really trying to do their part. The nonprofit community is really working together, coming together. So Adrienne, I cannot say thank you enough for kind of directing donations that way. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I think we've pretty much covered everything that is on the docket, because like I said, we're just really playing by ear at this point in time on what to do. And I think United Way, a lot of people just aren't realizing that, United Way and the agencies that you guys operate with are such an integral part of getting the population through this particularly trying time. And, the big thing is we need to make sure that every sector of the population is covered, whatever their needs are. And I know that, from a business perspective, ultimately that's not what makes the world go round, but it does to an extent. Without economy, we don't have health. Without health, we don't have economy. And to be able to cover those sectors that aren't necessarily directly connected to business, I think is incredibly important. And I mean, it's just as important as every other aspect that we're having to cover. So I applaud United Way for jumping in on this and doing everything that you continue to do. I mean, this seems like, while it's a little more stress and a little higher pressure, it's just every other normal day for you guys at the same time when it comes down to it. And the same thing for these agencies as well. They're just, a little more burdened at the moment. So again, if anybody has any kind of desire, want, need to be able to jump in and help United Way and their partner agencies, again, the link's right here. Go to United Way, uwswok.org, and there's a volunteer button. You can connect with them there. You can also message them on their Facebook page, and that goes directly to Frank and to Lauren, the CEO, and they can get that information to the right people, and we'll respond to you pretty quickly. And they are not, just to make sure nobody is at the office right now because of all the social distancing and being able to shut things down. We, that's why I moved my studio, and I actually happen to be next door to United Way. So I've moved my stuff out just because we're making sure that we do our part to operate under social distancing and shelter in place at the moment, just so we can help kill this thing faster. Because, the faster we get the pandemic gone, the faster we go back to business as usual, or whatever the new usual will be. So Frank, thank you again for jumping in, and I appreciate your time.
Really appreciate you having me on, Chris.
Absolutely. And if there's anything else, I'll let you say it real quick, but if not, we're going to wrap it up and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody stay safe, stay at home as much as you can, and just make sure we're looking out for one another. And I'll quote Shayla Reddo because I saw her big mural that she just did that says, "Share love, not germs."
I love it. I love it. Yes, as a kind of germaphobe, even before this started, I can totally appreciate that. I'm right there with you. So if anybody wants to jump in on these, you can jump on the website and fill out the form to apply to be considered to be a subject for these interviews. I want to make sure that we get as much information out there as possible. And we kind of talk about just the general burdens we're all going through. And you know, in this time where things are a little fun, so to speak. You know, it's stressful for all of us, but we need to be able to either have an outlet or kick ideas around to other people. And I think the more information we get out to others, the more flexible and adjustable and agile we can all be and be able to survive and even thrive in this time. So go to chrismartin.tv/live-interviews and fill out the form if you want to be considered for this. And again, thank you to Frank and United Way for being here. And we will see you all later.